Just delete the last one.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for round 6 of the TS3 Touring Cars. We're live from the fantastic Daytona International Raceway. We are on the endurance layout. So it's obviously hosted by a lot of endurance races, such as the Daytona 24 and a lot of the IMSA races. Fantastic racetrack. I love it quite a lot. Definitely pretty hard to get right, but once you get it right, it does feel well. And as always, I'm here joined by my fellow commentator in Nick. How do you go, my friend, on this lovely Sunday afternoon on Father's Day?
Daytona! Sorry, everyone. I had to do it. I love this track, and I love Daytona weekend. It is such a great track. It's so much fun, whether it's the oval or whether it is the infield section. It produces some great racing. We saw it last year with the Daytona 500. We saw it as well with the Daytona 250. That produced some really great racing, and it's also going to be very prone to a lot of drivers making mistakes because the infield, as easy as it looks, going through the infield section, it's very you could say it's very easy to outdo yourself and outbrake yourself and be overconfident with the car because there's not much room to regather the car because once you go late on the brakes or once you clip a bit of grass or you go onto the wide stuff, you're pretty much gone. Like there's no point of recovery, and getting the power down in these tight, twisty corners in the infield section is going to be will prove to be a bit of a handful for the TS3 drivers, as hopefully we'll be getting our qualifying underway very shortly, and we'll get to see how our drivers fare in this opening in round 7 of the Daytona Sprint.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting layout. I quite like it, as I said earlier. But yeah, let me try. There it is. So, sorry, I was just trying to find the race volume. I think it's doubling up, but anyway, I'll fix it if we need to. But yeah, there's a lot of off-camber corners and stuff like that as well. So if you get caught off camber, it can definitely cause you quite a lot of havoc, to be honest.
Absolutely, and yeah, when it gets to that kind of stage, it's what we could say is that, like I said, there's no point of return, and essentially for drivers, they just have to try again. They just have to they don't have much time. You're probably looking at about a 1 minute 38 roughly benchmark lap time. So, and I think what we saw earlier in the practice session, one of the drivers was actually hitting the 1 minute 37, so blistering pace in a TS3 Nissan GTR, I believe the driver was in. So we have a few brand new names joining us in the TS3 field. As we look down, it is another name, another presence of FR Racing, and they are really racking up the entry list, and they are really trying to insert themselves as one of the favourites or one of the clear contenders for a place in the Trackstars Touring Car Series main series. So with our drivers such like Seka in car 613, and then as well we have Dorjek, I think is his name.
I think Georgievich.
Oh, Georgievich.
I'm pretty sure it's Serbian. I think if it serves me correctly. But yeah, the drivers joining us at the moment. We have some, as we said, some internationals too. Where's the other drivers? Yeah, so, but the other thing is we've got a lot of different teams as well. So we've got some more Black Flag Racing, and then we've got FR. So FR seems to be making a little bit more of a presence here. I think there might be a little bit of a trend going on. You know, will we see FR Racing maybe put an entry in for next year? That's the question, because we did say if we do want main series entries, they do have to see. But the other thing is, will we see Black Flag have a main series entry?
Yeah, absolutely, and we're definitely seeing that throughout the whole TS3, TS2 field. Everyone is throwing in their entries left, right, front, and center throughout the whole. Within the last, I would say, last month, I would say we've been seeing an influx of the teams such as FR Racing and Black Flag Racing, just bringing in drivers, throwing their names in the TS2, TS3 entry list, and we're thinking, wow, you know, the interest for racing not only in in the lower divisions, but to put themselves as a potential candidate for main series next year. I'm very excited to see how it all leads up, and I'm very excited to see how these new drivers coming in. So especially with the FR drivers, they have their long veteran driver in Smith in Seacray. He's you know, probably like one of the longest serving drivers, I believe, in FR racing since they debuted last year in 2022. So he's still FR through and through. But he's seeing, you know, some great teammates come through, whether he's brought them along or whether his team boss brought the drivers along just to say, hey, you know, we have a potential in 2024, and we need some drivers ASAP.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we have Mario in TS2, and we may see them maybe put in for a reserve for the main series. But yeah, Smith, I think, has been probably one of the longest serving FR racing drivers at the moment, obviously led by their team owner in Ridwan F1, in Ridwan Hamza. So obviously he races for It's Racing main series, but he actually manages FR racing. But mate, man, do those cars look fantastic. I love the FR paint job. They definitely stand out to me.
Absolutely, they have a very good livery editor, livery designer for all of their cars, whether it's Group 2s, whether it's Group 3s, Group 4s, even road cars. They always produce some great looking liveries that, as you can see, we're going side by side between Smith and Stafford. So a bit interesting there, but obviously we try not to encourage racing there, and that is the reason why we don't encourage racing, because a bit of contact made, people get furious, people get upset. And yeah, it just gives the stewards a bit of hard work throughout the long night, throughout the long hours into the night, thinking, why are you doing that? But maybe, hopefully they'll be able to pick themselves up. But as we are getting up towards the end of qualifying, we've only got just under 5 minutes to go. It is led by the championship leader in Jeff Broading Car 18 in the Lexus Mash Buds Racing Steel City entry. And then as well in second place we see Tony Griffin come through, and then we have another FR driver, which I believe the name is Dominik Kubicki, is the Polish driver. So another name from Poland, obviously another driver from Poland, but was a Kiwi-born driver, is Waters in TS2, so Polish drivers, Polish flag drivers joining us in the Trackstars Racing Series. But it's been led by FR Racing in the Nissan GTR, and we saw last time out a couple of weeks ago, we definitely saw that GTR finally breaking the duck and getting themselves a victory in TS3. It was all dominated by the Lexus SC430, which got a massive upgrade compared to the GTR in 2023. And now it's great to see that FR Racing have brought a great package, and in that GTR, getting the victory over with Van Hart from FR Mono Racing, and now they have another driver that could take potentially a victory in race 1.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously Tony Griffin as well. He did tie with Van Hart at Watkins Glen, so unfortunately I mucked them up. I put Griffin first and Van Hart second, which would have been the other way around. Either way, they got the same amount of points, but Kubinski looks like he's just tucked in here for a bit of a slipstream, or pushing Tony Griffin along. But yeah, the FR Nissans have come to play. They're definitely pretty strong. We did see, we've got Jeff at the moment. He's the championship leader, but he's unfortunately he was obviously 3 on the trot, and he then had a 7th place at Brands Hatch, and then a 3rd place at Watkins Glen. So yeah, he's definitely doing pretty well, but Kubinski's come through here with a 37.67 to Brun's 37.9, and then down here in 3rd we have Tony Griffin on 38.5. So the time difference between 1st and 3rd is onwards of nearly 1 second. So we bounce back here to Hasseldine and Carter. Look at that time difference, wow. 0.002. That's ever so slightly there. That's pretty wild, as we've just gone over 2 minutes to go. So we'll probably see 2 more laps from these drivers, as Carter is the last driver to come past the line there. But He was very close to that tyre wall on the inside there, but you know, you've probably seen it as much as myself. It's not too hard to hit that tyre wall, and I've done it many times.
Yeah, absolutely. It does stick out when as soon as you approach the corner, it does stick out a lot further towards the track than what it looks like in the actual picture. So when you're driving it from the POV kind of perspective, it is really tricky to negotiate that cleanly and not trying to hit it. I mean, everyone's done it in all forms of racing. You know, you try to get as close as you can to the apex, try to take the narrower line and get yourself that crucial line and try and get through that sector split, that sector 1 split, as fast as you can. As we look on board with Jeff Brun here, the championship leader, he just runs wide through turn 1. You know, as well, you can play it cautious, run the car a little bit deep. You have that little bit of excess tarmac on the right hand side. There's not much grip there, but even if you just dip your wheels a little bit onto that, it's not too bad, as we see Thornley come up through the ranks there up into P3. So the MSR boys in P2 and P3, obviously we haven't seen too much progression through Thornley's TS3 campaign. He started off strong, almost got the victory in round 1 at Deep Forest Raceway, but he's come through with a very nice lap to put in P3 just behind his teammate and the championship leader. But as I was saying, going through turn 1 is very tricky, and you know, as you said, if you want to really run that narrow line, you can, but as well, it does stick out. And I think with the GT7 physics, it kind of acts like a little bit of a invincible wall there, that once you go a little bit too narrow or too much of the inside line, even though you don't hit it, the invisible wall will make sure you hit it.
Yeah, certainly. We all know GT7's broken. Unfortunately, it has been since it got launched, but they've slowly started to fix it, and it's on its way up. It is looking pretty well, but honestly, if it was me, I would rather go back to GT Sport, because that was pretty good. But Thornley was up through Sector 1, and he's 3/10 down, so it looks like he's struggling through that final part of the infield section there. But it's not hard to get it wrong. The other parties here, I'll jump on someone if I can find them. Here we go, we'll jump on board for Hasselden. Coming into the bus stop, it's very easy to corner cut. You know, you run too deep into the first part, and then you just cut the exit of the chicane. Yeah, as I said, it's not hard to do. Drop a left wheel on the grass, and the car's all over the shop. Cop half-second penalty, and your day goes from bad to worse. But you know, the penalty burn zone is in a high-speed section too. So if you're close pack racing, you can lose anywhere up to probably 3, 4, 5 positions, maybe even drop to the back. So. But yeah, the drivers are finally finishing now. We actually have Bendit come through for P3, 3/10 in front of Thornley there he's actually running under privateer now. So he was driving for Black Flag. He's actually dropped off into a privateer. So yeah, he was doing pretty well.
Huge development. It was huge development news throughout the whole week in Trackstars Racing Series, that we thought the support that Black Flag Racing was getting to try and get themselves as a contender for main series. Bendit was leading the way with Black Flag Racing, as well as Mills, who's running in Split 2 at the moment. But yeah, it just became a bit of a shock after the last round at Watkins Glen that his name suddenly just dropped off from Black Flag Racing and went down to privateers. So big headlines in the TS3 field, that Bendit is now a privateer, sitting up in P3, and you know, well ahead of his former teammate in Seca, who's down in P9. So you know, this could be a thing where he's saying, well, I believe you sacked the wrong guy. Unfortunately, you sacked the wrong driver.
Yeah. It's obviously unfortunate when you see drivers get lost from a team, or something happens and then they get dropped. But yeah, I'm keeping a little eye on Bendit there, because he does have a lot of potential. He had to use controller last round at Watkins Glen, unfortunately, because his wheel did come through and decided it was time to go kaput. But looks like he's back on a wheel now, and he's back up to the paces. So if he keeps it up there, I reckon he can take it with the big boys up the front. But we are missing one car on the grid, which is unfortunately Liam. He was doing an update. He's been absolutely destroyed by the update. So hopefully we'll see him for race 2. But unfortunately, that will be a 0 points DNS there. So, but yeah, I'm excited for this next 9 laps to see how the drivers can play out, and see who we can have off the start. But it's interesting for a grid start on Daytona, because you are off camber, and yeah, we could see some shakes ups off the grid if drivers don't get a hold of their car.
Yeah, we saw a lot of jump starts throughout 2022 in all forms of racing because, as you said, it is a bit of an off-camber corner. You are starting at the beginning of the banking, which is the pit straight, and which is where you see the checkered flag, the start-finish line, where you see some famous finish line videos from NASCAR and through the 24-hour of the Daytona event. But as we get ourselves ready for race one, it is Kubinski versus Jeff Brunners. The lights are off and we're green flag racing. So great start by the Nissan driver from FR Racing. Jeff Brun is going to try and tuck underneath the rear wing of that FR Racing, and his teammate right behind him, Thornley, is going to try and look for an inside move. Contact made, looks like, between the two teammates there in Thornley, but that's kind of helped, you could say, Jeff Brun in a way, almost trying to go back on towards go for an outside move on Kubinski, but unfortunately it just drops back down to P2 as we're seeing a bit of chaos there between the M&R drivers in Rosewarne and Stafford. But obviously it looks like it's a bit of a clean start so far for Kubinski, not so much for the drivers behind him.
Yeah, it looked for, as you said, what was relatively a clean start, but Kubinski's just taken that with all both hands, and he said, "Thank you, boys. I'm just going to take this and run." So essentially, you want to try and make up as much time on the infield as you can, so that someone's not in your slip for the banking. Because we saw for the Daytona 500. Sorry, I'm just watching back here. Someone dropped down the order. Thornley's dropped down. He's in the wall there.
No.
So.
And this is a bit of a common trend we've seen with Thornley, unfortunately. He has said to me in previous rounds that he doesn't really get too much time to do some practice, and I guess with a track like Daytona, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, it is very tricky to get power down in these cars through when you get onto the banking, and especially through the infield, and that just shows. And that was a pure example of losing it going onto the oval section. But unfortunately for him, he's got a lot of work to do in race 2 and try to make up some positions in this race and try and salvage some crucial points in his championship bid. But it is Kubinski leading the way ahead of Jeff Brun. Bended doing a nice start for the privateer in third. Griffin has moved up into fourth. Hasseldine has been a bit of a quiet achievement so far in this race, and we qualified inside the top 5, still hanging on into the top 5, defending from Carter, going a nice defensive move there by Hasseldine, and Carter just coming for an out, trying to look for the outside move, but all the rubble and all the is on the outside there. There is no grip whatsoever. So an outside move around this circuit is basically, you could say, very impossible, but it takes a lot of guts to make it stick.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't want to take the outside move there, but it does happen. You see it do happen because someone on the inside does break a little bit earlier to try and hug that inside. You can get a bit of momentum around the outside, but the off camber definitely can bite you and send you into the weeds. But yeah, so Carter tried it. Looks like he wasn't really sucked into the slipstream there. It was kind of a little bit out, but yeah, it was a definite attempt, and it was a pretty good one too. But yeah, as you said, Hasseldine up in P5, silent achiever. Unfortunately, I wasn't streaming last round because my internet decided that it wouldn't play ball. But yeah, so I'm quite impressed with Hasseldine. Obviously, new driver this season. Obviously, same as Bendit, Kubinski, Braun as well. So all the new drivers are really coming to play in this one, and the spread at the moment between the Lexuses and the Nissans is pretty good to see. But yeah, that outside move on the infield, I wouldn't probably try because I struggle as bad as it is. But jumping back to Thornley's incident coming onto the oval, it's not hard to do there. So get on the power too early and you really lose the rear there. So it's not hard to do, and unfortunately the old one says another one bites the dust. So we'll wait and see on how much that wall gets painted, obviously with main series later on at 8 o'clock tonight. So yeah, it's going to be...
You also have to remember that these cars have basically hardly any downforce on them. Yes, they do have a rear wing, but the downforce effect is nothing like we see in the main series or the TS2 car, the 2016 GT 500 cars. So these cars are running like bigger engines, a lot less aero on their car, obviously with all the aero bits on it. It doesn't really have much of a ground effect. It doesn't really put the power down and sticks to the ground as much as we see with the 2016 models. But yeah, as you said, easy to do, and unfortunately for Thornley's case, a lot of work to do in race 2. But as we look back down towards the front there, or look up towards the front rather, we can see Kubinski still pulling away and getting himself a good gap. It's still 1.9 seconds over Jeff Braun, who's coming all sorts of under pressure from the privateer driver, and Bendit in third place. former Black Flag racing driver, gone privateer car 99, and he's doing a fantastic job to stick underneath the rear wing of that Lexus in Jeff Braun, who is a championship leader. So yeah, so it looks like it's really all about the getting through the Le Mans, through the Le Mans bus stop. It's really important to get that run, because you want to try and get a consistent run throughout the whole 9 laps, but running 9 laps and getting a good run onto the oval section is very tricky, as we can see the power of that Nissan GTR just ever so slightly closing in. Can he think late? Will he go early and try and get a better run on the exit of turn 1? Oh, such different characteristics between the cars, but that's a really good effort there by Bendit, and still holding on to P3.
Yeah, that was a very good day. He had a good run, but sometimes I'm not really seeing these guys kind of sucking into the slipstream as much as you want, but maybe that might be them. They might be a little bit more comfortable kind of hanging out. But yeah, if it was me, I'd try and suck under as much as I can get under that rear wing, because I think we've noticed in the past the slipstream in these TS3 cars is actually quite considerable. So you see the Lexuses and the Nissans there, they really are very strong in the slipstream. But yeah, so unfortunately it's not a good day here at the moment for M&R, as we've got a yellow flag up ahead. Who's that for? Maybe just a bogus yellow flag, I'm not too sure. But yeah, the M&R boys here down in 11 and 12 with Stafford and Rosewarne. Probably not where we want to see them. They are in, I believe, their 3rd year of racing in Trackstars, so maybe we might see M&R submit an entry for what would be main series or TS2 next year. So we'll wait and see for that one, as we just had Liam join the room, so he'll be at the back of the grid for race 2, so that's good to see there. We have a full grid, but yeah, I'm liking the range of drivers, as we were saying last round. You know, the internationals, you know, you've got Kabinski here, you've got Bendit, and then down the back of the grid we have Seca, and then Georgievic, and we have Thornley as well. So there's a lot of internationals coming through, which is quite good to see. You know, Trackstars obviously started during COVID, you know, started expanding and stuff, and now, you know, branching into internationals, it's actually really starting to blow up. And as you said, mate, the entries that we've had for TS3 is quite considerable, and I'm gonna have to start making those result pages too soon in a second, because we have that many entries.
Oh, you had a hard job last time when it came to the TS2 results. You had to make shit pages out of it. But no, it is a great achievement that we are setting here in Trackstars TS3. We basically how the series started was basically an all-out Australian series with a couple of our English friends that were good mates with Jarman Dowds, who is the series owner of Trackstars Racing Series. And then throughout the whole COVID pandemic era, we could say we're a bit more of an Australian, New Zealand based league. And then I think once we opened up the series, and we brought in such as Porsche Cup Endurance Series, LMP GT3 style racing, one-off events, we just saw a huge influx of internationals and more Australians and New Zealand drivers just getting involved in the series and bringing their support, and, you know, bringing teams. You know, as you said, for example, with M&R, they've been hanging around since 2021 when TS3 was introduced in Trackstars Racing Series. They were one of the first entries alongside with Intercontinental Esports racing group, so they were also one of the lead teams that were a part of the TS3 Foundation. And it's still great to see those teams hanging around in TS3. But as we saw last year, they had Severi in M&R. He graduated up into TS2, driving in the CP Motorsports Nissan GTR. So we are seeing teams producing drivers that are saying to their teammates or to their team bosses, saying, "Hey, I want to give TS2 a go. Will we put our team in, or will I have to go under a privateer, or will I have to join a team?" So it's great to see some full support in all forms of categories, and especially in TS3. We have 19 drivers competing tonight at Daytona, where at the start of the week we almost had 23 drivers competing in a total of in the TS3 field. And that would have been a huge achievement here at Trackstars Racing Series. So we do thank our drivers so much for sticking it out, hanging around with us, and enjoying the racing. And we are seeing some great racing here. We haven't seen too many incidents, which is actually, I would say, a first in a long time in Trackstars TS3. It's great to see some great sportsmanship and some good quality racing that we're seeing. But that is being led by Kubinski in first place, led by then second in Jeff Rod, who's actually cleared away from Bendit right behind there by a considerable amount, margin there. So Bendit definitely made a mistake a couple of laps ago. We can see there 1 minute 38 on this last lap, but he's just picked up a half-second penalty cutting through the bus stop, the Le Mans bus stop, and he's down in third place. Let's see how much Griffin closes up with a half-second penalty awarded to Bendit. It's closing. You're just going to have to read the number to me, DJ, when it gets to turn 1.
It's down to 5 tenths, now 4.5, so
wow.
it went from what was 1.6 down to 4.5, so yeah, that was pretty considerable loss there, and he only had half a second, as I said earlier. You know, the burn section is in a high speed track, so you know the drivers are going to be doing onwards of 270, 280 while you're dropping to...
Oh, Carter right behind has a spin. I just saw it. We just caught in the background. He just got a half spin there. He just got onto the curbing, unfortunately. You can use that outside part of the track there. Actually, yeah, he used a little bit of the outside track, got on the curbs, and that was all she wrote, unfortunately. Thankfully for him, he actually reset himself there. So if that was the case, he would have gone back to turn 1 if he kept going along the grass there. It's been a bit dewy, it's a bit wet, it's a bit moist, the grass this evening, even though it is the sunset. Here at Daytona, we get ourselves preparing ourselves for the night race in the main series of the Trackstars Touring Car Series. Carter's dropped well back behind Hasseldine and in the clutches of Walker, which has been a bit of a quiet race for Black Rose Racing rather. For Walker, the sole driver for Black Rose Racing, his teammate, unfortunately, Smith, just pulled out in the last minute. As we said, it is Father's Day here in Australia, so we do wish the fathers that are racing with us in Trackstars TS3 and in our community, we wish them a happy Father's Day. Wish my father as well a happy Father's Day, who's all the way up in Newcastle. I'm sure as well with yourself, Ryan. You've had a good day with your father on this beautiful Sunday.
Yeah, it's been not too bad. We've just got some family coming over tonight, but so I'll be unfortunately racing while they're here spending time. But no, it's been good. I went down to the soccer field and watched the ladies of my club team play while he was refereeing, and I caught up with him after that. So it's been pretty good. But yeah, as you said, happy Father's Day to all the fathers that we currently have here, and also to the ones that we have present, both past and present, as I said, and also happy Father's Day to the mothers out there that are doing both jobs. So can't forget about those ones. So but yeah, I'm quite enjoying the racing. As you said, it's getting a little bit dewy here, sun setting, temperature's starting to get colder. Obviously, Robinson goes really deep under brakes there into turn 6.
Pulls it up.
He does pull it up, but if he had got on the grass there, he would have called that a day, because once you get on the grass there, mate, oh wow, just needs to let those rear tyres cool down a little bit there. So, but yeah, it's quite interesting on these. But as you said earlier with the stewards, I'm glad that there have been no main incidents, because I don't think we've had an incident-free round at the moment. But if there's an incident-free round, I'll be very happy, and I think Mr. Brian East will be happy as well for the stewards room too. So yeah,
definitely.
Fingers crossed. At the moment, we have no incidents come through, and the less incidents we have, the better it is for the racing. So yeah, they have got a lot better compared to when we started TS3. Go back to TS3 when it first started. The drivers were obviously, this series is more or less for your inexperienced drivers. Wouldn't say slow drivers, because we do have some fast drivers there, but your inexperienced drivers, they don't feel comfortable racing in TS2, so they just race down here. But mate, it's made for some great racing I've seen this year at the moment. Obviously, Deep Forest was fantastic. That was a fantastic round open. I'm very glad with that one. But with all the TS3 teams, we do have some feeder teams into TS2 and main series. WTC Racing, Mash Spuds yourself. So we've got the main series drivers working with the TS3 too. So, and it's really kind of showing as well. You know, Kabinski's working with Ridwan, Braunton's working with yourself, and Tyler and Chris. So Bendit, I do know he is linked to FR Racing or someone like that, so he does get a little bit of help. And obviously Griffin from the likes of Slappers and Ando. But yeah, we're on the last lap here. He's just gone through the final chicane there. Kabinski's come through. He's setting a purple lap at the moment. So he's on for a low 37.1 or a
Wow.
37.2. So yeah, he's done a 37.4 and he's nearly 2 tenths up. So this is going to be a quick lap.
It's going to be a quick lap, but it just shows what dominant pace he's had so far in race 1 of the Daytona Sprint here at Daytona. It's going to be lights to checkered flag for Kabinski for his first race victory for FR Racing. So congratulations to the Polish driver, Jeff Brun. A very nice, solid race for the championship leader in P2. Bender holds on to P3. He'll be happy with that. Tony Griffin, unfortunately, just 2 positions behind Jeff Brun. Hasseldine up into the top 5, so nice drive there for the Hasseldine Automotive driver in 5th place. Then we have Carter, then we have Walker, Secker, Robinson, and now we have Dorjevic in 10th place. So we have 2 FRs inside the top 10 there. It's great to see. And unfortunately for Thornley, he's down in P11, so he did gain a few positions back, passing the M&R boys in Rosewarne and Stafford. So up into P11, but a lot of work to do for car number 90, as we can see there. Looks like he's just hit the barrier there, and he's slowing up. I think he just decided to let his teammate through, probably in the sense of championship positioning. I would say that could have been the case for Rosewarne. And then unfortunately, Jack Smith looks like he's had a bit of a slow running this evening. So I think he got caught up in turn 1, turn 2 incidents with a couple of drivers, and he's just down in 14th place. A split 2 winner last time out. Watkins Glen finishes in 14th and last place for FR Racing.
Yeah, the looks like Smith's kind of have a bit of a bad day there, but big congratulations to Kabinski. As you said, lights out to the checkered flag. He does get there and a clean race bonus as well here. So big ups to him. It's Bendit coming through with the fastest lap with his 137.463. Mate, that's a rocket lap.
It
And
is.
yeah, that's quite considerably faster than the third fastest. Obviously got Kabinski there with a 482, Bender with a 463. So yeah, that's a quite quick lap. And then we jumped down to Smith on a 141.6. So what would be 4 seconds there in time difference, but quite even spread at the moment too. It is led by quite a lot of Lexuses in the top 10, but
Yep.
yeah, Kabinski coming across with the win.
And I was going to say the lap times that we're seeing is massive compared to what we saw in the opening rounds, where the Lexus was actually very strong on 1 lap pace and throughout the whole race pace. But with all these, with the FR team, it's absolutely incredible the amount of pace that they've brought into that Nissan GTR, bringing life back to the Nissan GTR, where we saw Rick Green in the Triple R Motorsport take the championship in 2022, and in his Nissan GTR for Triple R Motorsports. And it's great to see FR Racing trying to etch their names onto the winners list, and they've done that with 2 drivers in 2 races, so that's great to see. But as we take a quick break here from Trackstars TS3, we'll try and get ourselves a full grid tonight. We'll try and get Liam onto the grid. Unfortunately, we'll be starting 15th and last place in race 2 for round 6 of the Trackstars TS3 touring cars for the Daytona Sprint. So stay tuned, grab yourself some food, and we'll be back with you shortly.
Alright, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. The lift got stuck for me coming back up because I just wanted to go get a drink. But yeah, come back up to the comms room. The lift got stuck there. It was taking a little bit to come down, but yeah, that was a good first race. Here for Daytona for round 6 at TS3. But what do we expect for race 2, Nick? I'm expecting a clean sweep there from Kubinski. I think so.
Absolutely, I think Kubicki has the potential. He definitely showed he has the pace and the consistency. I don't really think we saw any penalties next to his name, and his lap times was very consistent. But I'm also going to be keeping my eyes on Bendit. You know, a driver like him, he was right on the back of the rear wing of Jeff Brun's 18 Lexus. But you know, if he finds a way past Jeff Brun, I could definitely see Bender putting a bit of a challenge on Kubinski, because obviously he did have the fastest lap in that race, you have to remember. But as well, not only that, he was keeping pace with the leader in Kubinski, like throughout his whole stint, except for one of them, where I think he got a 1 minute 38, and that's why he dropped so far back behind Brun. I think with that pace that he's got, if he can get some clear air and get past Jeff in the opening lap, can decide who wins this race in race 2. I definitely feel like it could be Kubinski. He might just have the edge over Bendit and Jeff. But I have a fear. But you know, I'm excited for this second race because it's all about the race start. And I don't want to forget about the likes of Griffin. He did win race 1. Fighting off an FR driver and Van Hart in that first race, and Jeff Brun was right behind in P3. So I wouldn't count out Griffin. He's starting P4, finished P4 in qualifying and in the race. So it'll be very exciting to see what the WTC driver can do, sitting second in the championship, a little bit further back behind Jeff in the points, but any points that he can get over Jeff Brun is key points for the WTC driver.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, any points you can try and get from drivers is definitely a positive there, or try and do what you can. But yeah, I'll be keen to see, as you said, on what Bendit can do from third. He's definitely an underdog. I will give him that. For me personally, we haven't seen him race since obviously round 1. I think he did miss a round or 2, but from what he has shown up, obviously apart from last round, he was only on controller. But yeah, I'm definitely keen to see what he can do. So he's got a brand new wheel and pedals, but yeah, it's going to be a pretty exciting race 3. But if he can stay with Kubinski, I definitely think he can take it to him and see what he's got. So, but yeah, I don't think Brun likes this battling that he's got going on now, because you know we did see Brun take off at the start, but yeah, here we go for race 2.
Kubinski versus Brun. Look out for Bendit in P3. It is lights out, green flag racing, and it looks like a poor start. Actually a little bit of a drop frames rate for Jeff Brun. I was going to say it was a poor start for Jeff Brun, but Bendit's right on the inside, and that's the move that he needs to make to get past Jeff Brun. Hasselden's come around nowhere. Oh, a punt! It looks like between Kubinski and Jeff Brun there. He's gone well down the order as Jeff Brun. Looks like there's a little bit of lag between the 3 drivers up in that top 3, and Hasselden's come from out of nowhere. Wow. Looks like Jeff Brun, yeah, he could definitely a bit of net code there on his side of things. Probably. So definitely not the start that he wanted. He's now battling with Walker for P3. Bendit's up into P2, so Walker's made a great start in this race in going into race 2, as we see Jeff Brun trying to get for an inside move.
It was really laggy.
Yeah, it's a little bit of lag coming from his end there, so Walker got a little bit shoved wide there, down into P6, unfortunately, in his case. So that's not the start that Jeff wanted, but the start that Kubinski wanted almost looked like a bit of hip and touch between himself and Bender, because it looked like Bender was going for a punt move there, or trying to look up the inside where there wasn't really a gap for Bender, but it looked like just a bit of lag there between those top 3 drivers. Unfortunately, it's kind of hampered what could have been an exciting race, with Kubinski up front, Bender second, Jeff Brun in third, Griffin's back up into P4 after dropping down the order. Hasselden still holds on to P5. Strangely enough, he still holds on to P5. So the top 5, all as it was in race 1, with Bender getting over Jeff Brun and Walker battling for P3, now back down to P6. But down in 7th and 8th place, we've seen some moves and shakers early on. We see Thornley up into P7 again, another half-second penalty, and Stafford with another half-second penalty. So watch these guys, and Liam has come from absolutely nowhere. From P15, potentially can move himself up into 7th place. We'll watch and wait and see. But what Car 28 can do, can he get past the two drivers that got their penalties? No, he can't, unfortunately, but that is a solid start for Liam. We can see Carter looking around the outside of Liam. Does he get it done? He gets the inside, and he does. That is an outside move there for Ryan Carter. Great job by the WTC driver. Gets a little bit hampered there, gets a little bit pitched in towards the apex. Has Liam just a bit too much entry there, just try to avoid the tyre barrier. That slowed him down a bit, but what a move by Carter up into P9, but a great start as well for Liam in P10.
Yeah, Liam in P10 come zooming through the field there from last, and as I say that, he dropped down there, but what's happened here? The drivers are all over the shop, but yeah, Robinson is sitting down there in 15, so I think something's happened to him off the start, or he got a bit caught up in that. Maybe the lag at the start there, mixed with cars going everywhere, kind of did hinder the cars further back. But yeah, this is a bit of a spicy pack going on. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars there, so all within, you know, what would be probably a second or 2 seconds. So Smith's actually made a move up into 14th as well here, just on the back of Georgievic. Apologies if we do say your name wrong. Please clarify us if we need to. We always do ask drivers if we are sending their name wrong. Better. Second.
It's the Black Flag Racing driver just trying to go for an inside move there. Roseborn was like, "You're not having that. I've got the inside line," and he just squeezes through. Oh, that's nip and tucked there, but that's a great move there. A little bit of a argy-bargy there, just like saying, "I've got the momentum, get out of my way." And look at that momentum, the car 615 trying to go around the outside of Liam going into turn 1. This is some great racing in the lower pack. Liam holds on, but it looks like he runs a little bit deep there. Does he pull it up? He does. Still holds on to P10. Nice move there by Seca. Still up front, it is Kubinski over Bendit, over Jeff Brun. And we are seeing a little bit of a spread between the opening stages, but it looks like Bendit's losing some pace now. He's coming up to the clutches of Jeff, and Tony's actually dropped in behind there. Still a lot of flag, a lot of net code coming from Jeff Brun, unfortunately. He did mention to me early in the broadcast that or early before we got underway in race 2, he was experiencing some sort of net code between the drivers ahead of him, the 2 internationals. But unfortunately, it looks like that's happening on his end. So maybe a bit of a play within the service where drivers don't like each other when it comes to connectivity, and I feel like it's just hampered Jeff Brun a little bit, and maybe that might worry a few drivers like Griffin, for example, that doesn't want to get close to it because anything can happen when you suffer a bit of netcode, unfortunately.
Yeah, obviously we do see netcode here, and it being Daytona, I think there is a little bit of a bug on this track specifically. We did see it in the formulas for main series coming through the bus stop here. We did have a little bit of screen glitching, so I think they fixed that. But in the corners, you will probably more than likely see it tonight. Ridwan will actually be skipping left and right going through the corners. We did have it with slappers too, so I think there may be a bit of a connection problem with the track as well going through the banking. So, definitely.
So I was going to say, it is very track specific, because every time we've done any forms of racing, or any times I've actually watched some online racing around this track, it has always been the case that there are a lot of bugs around Daytona, and it's a bit of a shame because it is a returning track on GT7, obviously not featuring in GT Sport. As we see Jeff Brun looking for a move. Is that a genuine move, or is that a bit of lag on his name? No, it's a genuine move there for the Lexus driver. Great job by there. So obviously a bit of camera technicalities there on Ryan's side of things.
I pushed the wrong button.
I think we caught it on the stream there, so we'll allow you that. But that's dropped Bender down to P3, and now coming under pressure from Tony Griffin in P4, car 62, who's second in the championship, needs to get past Bender. Bender is 11th in the championship. He did miss one round, so he will be trying to get some points as he can, because obviously when it comes to drop rounds at the end of round 13, it could propel him up towards the pecking order in at this championship. But Tony Griffin lost a lot of time there through the bus stop there, just wasn't very committed, and I can see why he wasn't committed. Bender's got himself a half-second penalty next to his name again, so he was very conservative through the bus stop. Bender wasn't, So half second next to his name. What the gap, what we said from the last race was 1.2 from what you called, Ryan. Will Kenny get the move done? We'll look on board with Tony Griffin as they go through turn 1. This is going to be extremely close. Can Tony go for a full send? He won't. He's too far back there, and that's a wise move there by the old head in Tony Griffin in 4th place. Hasseldean still holding on to P5. He's not too far behind, 1.3 behind Tony Griffin, and then Walker in P6. Thornley's doing a much better job compared to his race 1 mishaps. He's up into P7 after starting 11th, so a little bit further back behind Walker, but he's got a good gap over Carter in 8th place. So very well spread out now. There's not too much battling, except for it looks like down towards the rear there we can see Rosewarne battling with Liam and another driver from FR Racing. I think that might be Smith and Robertson. Actually, no, Robertson's moved up the order.
Yeah, he's done to 11. So.
Yeah, so that's Robertson. In Robertson's case, just get out of that pack because we know Robbo very well. He doesn't belong in the back, Ryan. He knows he loves his midfield battle. He loves fighting for a top 5. He even tries to fight for a podium in TS3. He has got a few podiums under his name, and we can see there Seca just made a mistake in going onto the oval, drops down to P11, and that's a cruel blow for him, half a second penalty. No fault in his own because he just put too much power there and just nothing he could do.
Yeah, the track penalties on this are pretty harsh, to be honest, but we do have them there, and sometimes, depending on the penalty in the instance, we do revert it, but in regards to track penalties, none of those get reverted. So sometimes contact penalties will, but yeah, that's all stewarding there. But I think the only one we've only really had an issue with is passing under yellow flags, but those as well, we do review them if someone has an issue, and if it's warranted for overturning, we'll overturn it, but if not, then we'll just leave it, which has actually happened. I think it was at Deep Forest. We had a driver full set there from Robbo.
For a move into turn 1, sticks a nose in there. Can he hold it? No, he doesn't. Wow, that would have been a great move by Robertson if he pulled that off in car 20. But as you were mentioning about the harshness of the penalties, we can see up ahead there. I've just looked at the leaderboard. There's been a change from P3. It's Hasseldean. Mark Hasseldean's now come through to P3, so it looks like maybe a bit of contact made between Bendit and Griffin has opened the opportunity for Hasseldean to take P3, and this could potentially be his first podium. But we're on lap 6 of 9, and it's not over yet. So his drivers, the drivers behind him, are still right in touching distance of taking that podium away for Hasseldean. Bendit right behind Griffin in 5th. Walker's closed up a little bit in P6. So the battle for 3rd place is going to heat up, and who can take it towards the end of this race, we'll find out in 3 laps time, but it's very close quarters there. Robinson unfortunately picks up a half-second penalty. Looks like potentially he just made a bit of an exit, bit of a blunder, just like what Seca did on the previous lap, just going a little bit too much throttle and getting onto that extra tarmac on the left-hand side. So very unfortunate for him. Almost made a move on Stafford, but unfortunately pays the price of the half-second penalty. So very unlucky for Robbo. He'll drop behind Seca. I don't think he's going to lose any more positions because there's a huge gap between himself and 12th place. So he's got a good enough gap to hold on to P11.
What's happened here for Georgievic? I've got a longer replay. This button.
So caught something there from the FR driver. Looks like Liam just broke a little bit early. Just caught the back end there. Just had no chance to react there. Yeah, just no time to react on that early braking by Liam. Obviously, just jumped on the game. He probably hasn't had too much running today, so obviously just trying to pinpoint his braking markers, and unfortunately they're a little bit too early, which kind of flustered Dorjevic in unfortunately now 15th and last place. But this battle is brewing. Griffin almost goes for an inside move there, thought about it, but didn't let it happen, unfortunately. So they're down still in P5. They're right underneath that rear wing of the privateer in Bennett, and I can say Walker's not far behind there. He's lurking behind in P6. We're on lap 7 of 9. Griffin's going for the outside move. He's going for the high line on the banking there. You don't really get too much speed there. You actually lose a little bit of speed. It's very interesting in the NASCAR when you can run the high line, you get a lot of speed there, but on GT7 they say you run wide on the high line, and unfortunately you just lose speed. You just lose all momentum there. So that didn't work out for Griffin, unfortunately, and Walker, like I said, He's lurking in the background. He can see the battle packs ahead of him. If we go on board with Walker, let's go for an onboard lap with Black Rose Racing Driver in Walker. Car 17, we're going to have a close eye on what this battle pack is like for the battle pack for P3. So sit back, enjoy the lap by the Black Rose Racing Driver. Beautiful lap there by Walker, but we've just seen ahead. Benton has made the move for P3 on Hasseldine, so that's denied him, unfortunately, a podium in race 2 for the Daytona Sprint. So it looked like a bit of an outside move there by Benton. So it looks like he made a very nice move just before they got to the exit of the Le Mans chicane. He managed to make that into the entry of the Le Mans chicane. He managed to get the move done over Hasseldine. So that's very unfortunate for Hasseldine, but unfortunately, what we saw there's some differences. Walker's very strong in this early part of the infield, and as soon as it gets to the last part and onto the oval and banking, he just loses a lot of time there. He just can't keep up. He's just not finding the traction in his 17 Black Rose Racing Lexus. But we saw there with Bendon, very nice move there on Hasseldine. Hasseldine drops down to P4, but it's still not over yet. Hasseldine wants that position back. He's not going to give up. And you can see there just much more confidence in that Lexus. He's going to look to try and go for the inside. Bendon's going defensive. Hasseldine has to think about the long way around. Can he get a switch back on the Dutch driver? No, he doesn't. Runs the car wide onto the curbing and onto the bank they go for the last time. We'll cross over to our leader once they get to the start-finish line. But this is the battle pack, Ryan. Who's going to come out on top when they get on the exit of the Le Mans chicane?
I honestly have no idea at the moment, as I can see in that rear view mirror, Tony Griffin's on the back of Hasseldine at the moment. This is not over. Will even Walker come through here? He's in P6. He can have...
Deep. He's gone deep, he's gone wide. Oh, that potentially lead to a half second.
Someone's got a penalty, someone's got a penalty.
Yeah, that was Hasseldine, but we'll come back to that very shortly. That Kubinski, clean sweep for FR Racing. Great job by the man in the FR Nissan. Jeff Brun takes another P2. That was Hasseldine that got that half-second penalty. Oh, what a cruel blow to what was a great race. Bender takes out the podium yet again. Griffin fourth, Walker up to P6, and I have to feel for Hasseldine. On lap 8 was in P3, and now on the end of the race, down in P6. Very unfortunate there for the Hasseldine automotive driver. Carter finishes in 9th, Thornley in 10th, Robinson up into 11th, Secker in 10th place, and Stafford Smith 11th, 12th. And we'll look down towards the rear of the field. Liam, Rosemont and Dorjovic in 15th and last boost. But my goodness, you have to feel for Hasseldine. He had it with 2 laps to go, and 6th place is definitely not what he wanted.
Yeah, that was very unlucky there for Hasseldine. I feel for him on that one. You know, it happens to the best of us, but yeah, that's racing, I guess. But yeah, it wasn't over till that checkered flag dropped there. But yeah, I'm quite obviously a little bit sad there for Hasseldine, as that half second dropped him from, yeah, as you said, from 4th down to 6th. But yeah, Griffin and Walker were on the back of Hasseldine, made him come under an absolute ton of pressure there, going into the bus stop. So Yeah, Griffin actually pulled out into the inside, and it looks like he little like balked him a little bit. So, yeah, that was definitely an interesting one to watch there. But yeah, Dominic Kubinski, get the sweep and get the mops out because you've just had a clean sweep, my friend. But yeah, top job there. But yeah, I'm quite impressed at that one with a
Yeah,
37.408.
that was actually quicker than his first race. That was actually quicker. I think that throughout the whole night, I think that was his fastest lap there. I don't think he managed to achieve that in qualifying as well. So Kubinski, great job on his debut. So I think Jeff can count his lucky stars that he didn't join from the start of this season, because if that was the case, it would have been all hell for him. Unfortunately, with both Van Aert and Kubinski, the top two drivers from FR Racing, leading the way and getting three on the trot for FR Racing. So very nice job there by the FR drivers. Bendit holds on to a podium, a great, strong performance after what happened early in the week, losing his drive to F2 Black Flag Racing and now gone privateer. And what a way to shrug off all the press and the media to get P3 at Daytona. Great round for him. And I would think, I would love to give my driver of the day to Kubinski for a clean sweep, but I am gonna have to give it to Bender because it is an underdog story. He had the top drive at Black Flag Racing. The press and the media circulated that there was some tension going on with Bender at Black Flag Racing, and it turned out to be true. He got sacked from the team. He had to do it all by himself there. He's kind of running similar colours to what he had at Black Flag Racing, but under the privateer name, Bender gets P3 overall and a top job by the man that is the Flying Dutchman in Bender.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to support you there on that one. With Bendit, as you said, he's a bit of an underdog. I think he's a bit of an underdog for the season. Unfortunately, he's not as far up in the standings as what I would probably want. But yeah, so he's doing quite well at the moment as Kubinski gets a clean sweep, Braun with the double second place, and as results are coming through for the split two, we had Mills take out qualifying race one and race two, so he'll get automatic entry into split one next week. So big congratulations to him. But yeah, solid work there from all drivers. Yeah, that was a quite interesting race. I did enjoy that a little bit. We always love Daytona, and just for anyone, uh, next year the Daytona 500 will be back. I promise you that. And
We are very.
uh, I think you
We
can
can't.
agree with me there.
Absolutely. I missed when I saw the calendar, even though I'm a part of the series management team. When I saw the calendar, and I was just clutching and just screaming at the top of my head, inside internally, where is the Daytona 500? But it is true. But we will try and get all those rumors and potentials confirmed once we get to 2024. We still got a long way to go. Only 3 more months before the end of 2023, Ryan. It's scored so quickly. My goodness, we started off with formulas, and then now we're finishing off with some touring cars. And next time out, we're going to be seeing the TS3 touring cars still in the America leg. So we've gone for 3 races so far for TS3 around in America. So we've had them at Watkins Glen. We've now had them at Daytona. We had the main series at Road Atlanta, and now we finish our American leg at Laguna Seca next weekend. We're excited for those 2 races. Both TS3 and TS2 will be back on our screens. Track Stars Racing Series. If you have enjoyed the stream, like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe here on Track Stars Racing Series YouTube channel. On behalf of myself, Nick Patasso, and our lead streamer and commentator in Ryan Palmer, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for the main series coming up in an hour's time. But for now, in TS3, we'll see you guys at Laguna Seca.
Yes, we shall. And as we said earlier, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And yeah, we'll be back with Nick for the live stream of TS Trackstars Touring Cars. But yeah, as I said, thank you very much. That was a good race, and have a good night to all the ladies and gentlemen watching.